I'm Chris Mills with SurfStrengthCoach.com, trying to bring you guys some legitimate information, things to do with your body, improve your movement, health, well-being, surfing. Lucky today to be speaking with Ryan Gallop of Nakoa Fitness and Physical Therapy. He is a performance director. Ryan, how are you today, man?
What's happening, Chris? All good?
Yeah, casual Saturday.
That's right.
So, Ryan, you've I know you from you do some work with surfers, and you've been involved with Nakoa for quite some time. I've seen your guys' work on Facebook. Absolutely a fan. But a little background. I know you're also involved with rugby as well as working with some up and coming surfers. A little background, man. How'd you get to where you are currently?
For sure. So I grew up in New York, in actually a surf town called Montauk, New York, and always played a lot of sports and kind of surfed on the side. But my dad's a big surfer, a lot of friends, so I've always been into it. Moved to San Diego after college, trained, played a lot of rugby, got more and more into the performance training as things went on. And once I got with our newest company, I kind of have been specializing in both action sports training and rugby because they're kind of two of the sports that I have the most personal background with, so I can relate to them and relate to the athletes a little better. And through that, I've gotten to work with some of the top athletes in both of those sports in SoCal. So USA Rugby, some professional skateboarders, surfers, snowboarders, and a lot of people in between for sure.
It's an accomplished roster, man. Very cool. I imagine it'd be a cool opportunity to start working with some top-level people, just to start seeing, I guess, commonalities of bodies and top-level athletes and seeing what they need or don't need and, like, limitations. Anything you've seen across from surfers, skaters, or rugby players that kind of stands out?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you do learn even from sport to sport, and you assume you might presume certain things and then realize that they're totally backwards. So we assess everyone up front, because we could guess what their needs are, but until you look at the actual body and the athlete and what their goals are, you can't tell. And I mean, for instance, rugby players are shockingly flexible, and you'd think they're all going to be muscle bound and tight and stiff because they're all fast twitch. And then there's some professional board sports athletes who don't have, say, great mobility or, flat ground balance is not great. And you're like, well, that's weird because based on their success in their sport, you make some assumptions. And then until you look at it in kind of a controlled environment, you really can't tell. And sometimes we're blown away. I won't use his name, but one of the big time young skaters I train right now he's about as tight as like a 60-year-old man. It's like shocking. But if you watch him skate, you'd never know because he's super mobile when it comes to doing what he does. But trying to get him into any kind of static stretch position, which I'm personally bad at too, so I know how hard it is to work for it. I mean, it would just blow you away. You assume kids are just going to be Gumbies until they're full grown, but he's a perfect example of you just never know.
I'm glad you brought that up, though, man. The relevance of actually individualizing training, and you and I both been in the field for a bit, and that's probably one of the biggest things is trying to convey to people that exercise and stretching protocols and training regimes. Yeah, it might have like a common theme, but it really has to start getting specific because, like you said, man, people have different capabilities, different flexibility issues, and if you're not really looking. Like I'll put people through sometimes a 90-minute assessment where it's full orthopedic ranges of motion and all that stuff, but glad you brought that up. It's a hard thing to kind of convey to people at first, they read some magazine article and hop into it, and you just try to let them know just because you've seen it in a magazine doesn't mean it's a relevant movement for you, past issues, you're too stiff, too tight. Good point, though, man.
For sure. I mean, you see a lot of people too, they end up doing what they're good at for training. So really flexible people like doing yoga because they're like, I'm good at yoga, I can stretch all day. And like fast twitch guys like me, I hate yoga because it's making me do what I suck at. And vice versa, I'll run sprints or do plyos and medicine ball throws all day because that's what my body's good at. But in reality, it's probably what I need the least of. That's why we all kind of need to get assessed and have somebody else tell us what's best for us. I mean, I know I should be doing more mobility and flexibility training, but
Yeah.
somebody's got to tell me to do it because I don't like it because I suck at it.
Totally agree, man. It was probably about 3 or 4 years ago where I finally said I'm not writing programs for myself ever again. Like somebody just tell me, man, I'm over it.
For sure. We all do that.
On to the next subject, man. What?
Sure.
Go ahead. Time lag. For the folks out in the internet land, this time lag can get a bit annoying at times. But what's your current surfboard, man? What are you riding? You're in Carlsbad, right?
I'm in Carlsbad. I do most of my surfing in North County. So we go to Cardiff a bit, Encinitas, Leucadia, and Carlsbad. Sometimes Oceanside and San Clemente, especially for the south swells. It gets better up there. My standard board right now is an Almeric, the new Flyer. It's 5'9". It's got a little bit of meat to it, so it's good when it gets overhead. I think I probably need kind of maybe a 6'2" step up for next winter because there were a couple of days this winter where I wish I had a little more under me. And then for the summer, I have like a groveler board. I have a 5'6" Lost Blunt, which is real fun. It's like a little skatey board. I ride it as a quad. It's good in the mush and kind of the soft summer waves in San Diego.
Wicked, man. At the moment, I've got a 5'8" Hypto Crypto, which was fun. Like I had that in Indo for most of the time, and where I was living in Sydney gets a big mix of waves, man. And those Hyptos and Craig Anderson blew up in Australia, so I had one of those for a bit. And I've surfed a new Flyer fun board, and I'm thinking about getting one of those Lost. I think it's a Lost mini driver.
I think that might be what Jay's riding right now, and he's got a Lost that he likes more. But I think it's either a sub driver or a mini driver, but he loves it.
Good boards, man. So you and I'm fortunate actually to be able to do some work with you guys coming up in April 11th. We're running a full day seminar, myself, yourself, another one of your coaches, and give us just a brief rundown of what it is you want to convey to people and a bit of what you're going to be teaching on that day. And again, for those folks, it's April 11th, and this will be in YouTube, this video, so there'll be links down below to check it out and get your tickets. But yeah, just give us a brief rundown, man. I'm looking forward to learning from you. What can I expect?
I'm going to kind of be focusing on the more the power elements of surfing. So I'll be starting, a big portion of it will be actually on the opposite of power, absorbing of power, a lot of deceleration work. I've done a lot of this with a lot of our, board sports athletes. I've worked with guys who do mega slope style, big air. If these athletes don't know how to absorb forces on their landings from maneuvers, they're going to get hurt. So we'll be working on some basic progressions on deceleration. Even for your average Joe surfer, guys like us, you still got to be able to land a floater or an off the lip or, maybe finishing something on a closeout section. Being able to absorb that vertical force just so your knees don't blow out and you can, live to surf another day. And then I'll also be working on some kind of like more power training for, surfing better, more power in your turns, more snap in, say, your cutbacks or your off the tops. So we'll be doing some medicine ball work there. Maybe a little bit of rotational plyometrics because that plays a role in there as well. And just basically different ways to learn how to express power but also do it under control. A lot of people, it's easy to throw something or, do a snap wood chop or whatever you see out there. But if you don't know how to do it with, proper spinal alignment, using your hips, knowing how to disassociate, whether you want just your torso moving or you want your body moving as one, different strategies for that. And basic stuff, we'll be using bands and med balls. We won't be going crazy on machines. I don't want people to feel like what we're doing is something they couldn't do on their own. So it'll be pretty minimalist as far as equipment goes, and definitely strategies people would be able to use at home.
That'll be pretty good, man, because I think a lot of people, you and I see it, we're in the fitness world, so we see all the ridiculousness of it all, and, functional fitness has this whole side of just nonsense, and then surf fitness instance, it's gotten big. You know, it's blown up the last couple years with Slater and McFanning and all those boys training. There's been this big evolution of just ridiculousness, I guess you could call it.
Well
So I think one thing often people really miss out on is that power development. It's crucial, and it's not just balancing on Bosu balls and unstable surfaces, but it's really learning how to control power output, and like you said, even more importantly, absorb forces. Because I bet most people coming out with serious like knee injuries, especially from the surf, it's not the power output, it's the force absorption, and they don't know how to hold alignment, and they don't have enough soft tissue on the knee joint. So that'll be really cool to see from you on the day. I'm glad you brought that up, man. Very cool. What's like one movement you find often that you're working this last week in the gym, one of the boys? What's one kind of deceleration movement you found to be beneficial?
I mean, literally the foundation for, deceleration is basically a squat pattern. So, I mean, obviously you can even start with body weight in a warm-up, but we'll do very basic step downs, which is, stepping off of a plyo box, absorbing force. I always add the proprioception to it, so I try and really get them to not look down. I constantly am talking to my action sports guys, hey, you don't stare at your feet while you're skating or surfing, so don't do it in the gym. And just getting them, better body awareness. And it can go as simple as, stepping off a 1-foot box and just landing softly with, good posture and letting your knees and hips break and absorb it. And then we can progress that to, loading it with a medicine ball, adding a reaction component. I mean, there's millions of ways to go ahead with it, but it can be as simple as, hey, just let me see you, because everyone jumps right to, box jumps or barrier jumps, which are cool plyos, but we teach people, hey, if you can't land, then I'm not going to let you jump. And that's, back to your point of ridiculousness, is too many people are out there doing silly, unstable surface, deceleration techniques, and you can tell that the person doing it can't even squat right. If you can't squat on 2 feet on flat ground, what the hell are you doing jumping onto an upside down Swiss ball or something? Like, there's got to be, that's what I really wanted to get across, especially with the power stuff, because it can be really fun training and it can be very important for a lot of people, but it's also dangerous. And I really want to hit on, very basic progressions of, like, it's kind of like earning stuff. Hey, you want to be doing the single leg, 3-foot box jump. There's a lot of steps to get you to that point to be able to do that the right way.
There's probably about 4 to 6 months of steps to get to that point.
A lot. And that's the problem, is people see the most elite people or, coaches putting out stuff online. I mean, when I was younger, I was foolish. I put stuff on YouTube because I'm good at plyos, and I put this gnarly surf plyo landing thing out, and 2 years later I looked at it and I'm like, 95% of people would hurt themselves doing that. Like, why did I put that on YouTube? It looks cool, but that was pretty much it. Like, it was dangerous for sure. But that's why, we all got to grow in this field.
This will be cool though. Like, I'm really. That's it, man. Learn from some mistakes along the way. Mess ourselves up so we can figure out what not to do with some clients.
Exactly.
No, I'm really looking forward to this seminar, because to be able to work with some other coaches and get some other perspective, but also, like, a big thing I kind of talk to people about is just basic maintenance, like restore movement. So it's cool to hear you say that, because I talk a lot about, like, just the basic squat patterns. Like, can you deep squat? Are you orthopedically capable of deep squatting? That's a beginning movement where you then take that and progress into strength patterns or power development patterns. So, like, one thing on the day, you'll be looking at people with squat patterns and deceleration mechanics and power development, where it'll couple really nicely, because I'll be working with guys on saying, hey, can you deep squat? Do you have enough range of motion through the knee extensors? Here's some tissue work you can do around the knee or the patella or the hip. Here's some stretches, and then take this into, power development, single leg training, stability, all of that stuff. So it's all going to mesh quite well and give people, I guess, just a solid understanding of what it takes to keep your body moving efficiently, and some legitimate things they can do with themselves, so they don't have to rely on, something they saw on YouTube. I shouldn't hate on YouTube too much, because I've got hundreds of videos, man. It's ridiculous. But yeah, Good to hear you say that, dude. Next question for you, man. Easy one. Kind of easy. So think of your average kind of desk jockey surfer. You know, a lot of those business folks, 9 to 5, they get out in the water like twice a week maybe. They got some kids. What is one, and I don't like asking or being asked about commonalities because like we've both said, people need to be assessed, everybody's different, but what's like one or two kind of general things desk jockey surfers ought to be working on?
For sure. I would say two areas. I mean, generally because of the computer posture, those guys need to be actively working on, their thoracic and their retraction abilities because the paddling position is basically the opposite of your crappy posture position. In posture, you're rounded and everything's poorly, protracted and, elevated. And then when you paddle, all of a sudden you're asked to be in this hyperextended, retracted, depressed shoulder blade position, which is better for you. But if you're not strong or, have the endurance to say, that I know you're from the Czech background, you guys do a lot of the prone cobra testing.
Yeah.
If you can't do that kind of movement for a certain amount of time because of all the hours you sit in your chair, then you're going to have pretty poor paddling endurance. No matter how strong you think your lats or your shoulders are from strength training, you need to be able to extend and, put out some force in that position. And from what we tell, and I feel it, if I'm on a computer too much in a week and then I jump in the water on Saturday, that the paddle out can be a rude awakening if I haven't been preparing for it, for sure.
Yes.
And then the second part I'd say would be, from the seated position, the basically the over tight and inactive hip flexors. Because for most, especially for aging guys, I see with my dad, he's freaking as tight as he can be, and he's still riding a giant shortboard at 62. But the hardest thing for my dad is popping up. He's a good ass surfer when he's on his feet, but because he's tight and he's gotten weaker in the core over the years, springing, the hand part is easy. He's always been a strong upper body dude, but springing those feet underneath you, people don't realize how much our hip flexors are used then. And the seated position, there's millions of studies that show how bad it is for the hip flexor. So if people aren't activating those and like you said, body maintenance, keeping them loose, keeping them active, they're going to struggle on their pop-ups, especially as they age.
Yeah, I see I've worked with a lot of guys with some serious kind of pop-up problems just from, like, they're 55-year-old retirees and they've just spent the last 30 years at a desk. And where they say, man, sitting is the new smoking, right? It's wrecking on our bodies. The computer work. So we were talking about just before we hopped on and started recording, I spend a lot of time in front of the computer now, and I'm sure with you being kind of business development and doing a lot of directing at Nakoa, a lot of time in front of the computer. So I actually try to break it up. Every 20 or 30 minutes, I'll get up and actually do some Cobras or some stability ball Supermans or something just to try to break up the monotony of that kind of forward, old man kind of posture. It's a hard thing to do, man. And people don't understand the relevance. Like, once you start losing that ability to get into the right position, and you start taking your shoulders through full range of motion and the neck, and things just start hurting, man. It's not a fun place to be.
No, not at all. And I can get there if I'm doing too much computer and I get sucked into too many strength workouts in a week because, some of the coaches will pull me in. By the weekend, when I have time to go surfing, I'm just a mess. I'm so tight. I need to roll for like 20 minutes before I even get in the car to go to the water and then big old man warm up on the beach just because I feel like I've been doing all the wrong stuff all week.
Stiff old man warm-ups, dude, all the time. I'll let you go in a minute, but I've got a Facebook question for you, man. So I threw this up on Facebook. People came through with some stuff they want to hear from some good coaches, and this will actually probably fall in perfectly with what you are going to teach on April 11th, the seminar. The guy wants to know how to increase the speed of your core muscle response. For example, rapid firing of nerves and fibers to increase reaction speed or recovery. And then he starts to go on, being in off-balanced positions through air moves like rotations and nose picks. So I am going to take the liberty and break this down for him. So power development with rotation. That would be an aspect I would imagine. And then balance, which you kind of talked about deceleration, but balance and being able to regain balance when landing. What's like one or two movements that kind of pops into your head about rotational training? And obviously, there's a lot of steps for people to get there safely, which we'll be discussing at the seminar. But what's something that sticks out, man? What do you have guys working on?
Well, if say he has already good movement, so we don't have to really, do the slow steps of proper rotation. Say he can already do that well. I mean, just your standard medicine ball rotation throw. If you don't have a wall, get a partner. But really, just putting your hips and your obliques and your rotator muscles into a snapping action. And then if you do have a wall or you got the partner to fire it back, not only expressing that force, but then immediately absorbing it again. We really like that. It's put the effort into both actions, not just the give, but make sure you can receive. And then also with rotation, we also would do a lot of anti-rotation exercises. Those are really good to do with, say, bands. And you just are setting up, there's different postures and ways to set it up. And if you can create a bunch of force through your core rotationally, you also got to be able to absorb it and be stable against it. Yes. So, your pal off, press offs, they call them, and for anti-rotation holds, you can add wobble to it, all kinds of different stuff. You can even mimic that on a Swiss ball if you set it up the right way. But it's basically being able to, add quick stimulus to your core, basically progressions of, say, planking type activities that make the musculature fire quick. And then they also play a role, to answer the second part of the question with the balance it's basically single leg deceleration work. So you can start with, doing just step offs off a box on a single leg. Once you get good at that, which is primarily, vertical force, then you can add in more, say, single leg, diagonal, and backwards in any direction bounds, where you're jumping on one leg, landing on the other, making sure to control the posture, let the knee naturally break to absorb that force, not landing stiff. A thing I'll say a million times in seminars, we want ninja landings. We want everything as quiet as possible. That shows that
good call.
You're absorbing your force, but also, again, with the eyes, you're looking up, so you have a good proprioception. You can feel the ground. That's why we get into doing some of these progressions backwards, because the beauty is you can't see behind you, so I need you to be able to jump, absorb a landing in reverse. It gives the body a different feel of the force, but it also makes your brain work a little harder because you can't spot the floor at all.
Good call, man. Well said. I'm 100% supportive of all those answers, dude. Good stuff, man. So I guess just kind of wrapping up, randomly, what are you having for dinner tonight, man?
Oh, good question. Let's see. Got probably some, obviously, organic meat. The wifey doesn't let the fam eat anything unorganic these days, inorganic. I think we'll probably make, we'll use all our leftover meat to do a little at-home taco night. And because it's the weekend, there'll probably be an IPA or two mixed in there.
Yes. In fact, just before we hopped on here, I've had my first Moscow Mule of the evening.
There you go.
Saturday evening, man. You gotta live.
I actually took my boys to lunch and had my first IPA a couple hours ago.
Yeah. Moderation, man. I tell people you got to find the balance, dude.
You got to live,
So, again, tell us about where people can learn more about yourself and Nakoa. You guys are a top-notch facility in Carlsbad. How can people find you personally and also the gym? For
sure. You can check out our website. It's nakoafit.com. We're on Facebook at Nakoa Fitness. We're also on Instagram, Nakoa Fitness. If you have any specific questions for me, if you're in the Carlsbad area and you're interested in training or learning more about our seminar that we'll be putting on with Chris, you can reach me directly through email. It's ryan.gallop, which is Gallop, at nakoafit.com. You can check me out on Instagram. I'm RG1Nakoa. And, any questions you guys got, information on training, We work with Keanu Singh, who just started in the Quick Pro yesterday. They're on late day today, but he'll be in round 2 coming up when they get the contest back on. So if everyone out there wants to root for Keanu, I'd be stoked on that.
The last 2 years I was out there, we went up to Gold Coast and watched it happen. Because snappers is cool, man. You can walk right on the rocks, so you can see them. Like,
Dude,
you're really quite close to them as compared to some of the other surf spots.
It seems so awesome. I was watching the setup
yeah,
yesterday, the helicopter cam, and it was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I was jealous of it.
And some of the videos, you've seen some of the videos coming out from their last cyclone swell at Kira. It's retarded, man. God. Like, it's just absurd how good it can get.
It was like one of Dean Morrison, I think, had like a 30-second tube, like legitimate 30 seconds. It was insane.
You guys don't do too bad in California though with your surf, man. So
no, we're having a pretty good winter. It's just more about finding the time these days.
Yeah, the full family, full job takes its toll, doesn't it?
Big time. I hate dawn patrols, but that's pretty much my only option these days.
Well, man, I will let you get back to your family. Very much appreciate it. Again, for everybody, April 11th is going to be the seminar. Get in touch with Ryan and Nakoa, some top-notch guys over there. I will put all the information and how to register for the seminar and also how to get in touch with Ryan below this video on YouTube, so check it out. So again, Ryan, much appreciated, man. Looking forward to seeing you in California in April, and enjoy your IPAs this evening, man.
Definitely. Stoked. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, cheers, buddy. Have a nice evening.
You too, man. Cheers.